believe that this spectacular building was designed more than 19 years ago? The Barcelona Pavilion by Mies van der Rohe and Lily Reich is truly an icon of minimalist architecture. It looks modern by today's standard and must have looked like a house from the future at the time when the paint on Gaudi's playful modernista buildings had barely dried up. Some cite architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe as being the first leader of minimalist design. And his famous aphorism "less is more", which he got from Robert Browning's 1855 poem The Faultless Painter, is still widely used, even by those who are unaware of its origin. To many outside of architecture, minimalism is a movement that became popular in the last decade. One that promotes living with fewer material possessions, decluttering your stuff, and only keeping that what's essential, that which sparks joy. However, its core concepts were pioneered by architects like Mies van der Rohe much longer ago. So today I'm going to show you around at the Barcelona Pavilion to give credit to one of minimalism's pioneers. Situated between the Museu Nacional d'Art de Catalunya and Plaça d'Espanya, the pavilion resides on a narrow site in a quiet, tucked-away corner secluded from the bustling city streets of Barcelona. The building, originally named the German Pavilion, was the official opening of the German section of the 1929 International Exposition in Barcelona, Spain. The pavilion was supposed to represent the new Germany after World War I. Democratic, culturally progressive, and pacifist. It was supposed to give voice to the spirit of a new era, and so it did. However, what we see today is not the pavilion as it was built in 1929. After the closure of the exhibition, the pavilion was disassembled in 1930, not even a year after its completion. It doesn't get more minimal than that. In the Museum of Contemporary Art, close to La Rambla in Barcelona's city center, you can still see a collection of pictures showing the original pavilion. Mies van der Rohe went on to head the Bauhaus movement in Germany, until the school was closed permanently in 1933 by the rising Nazi regime. Shortly afterwards, he emigrated to the United States. However, the memory of the Barcelona Pavilion lived on. For decades, it inspired imperfect look-alike designs in the guise of new houses and art galleries. And as time went by, it became a key point of reference in 20th century architecture. So in the 1980s, a group of Catalan architects took it upon themselves to reconstruct the pavilion permanently. It reopened in 1986. So what makes the Barcelona Pavilion so remarkable? First off, its minimalist design. The form is simple, stripped down. It's angular in appearance, a flat roof supported by simple iron columns, and large plate glass windows. It's the ideal of modernity that is expressed through the rigor of the geometry, the precision of the pieces, and the clarity of their assembly. If you compare it to the modernista architecture you can find elsewhere in Barcelona, like Gaudi's Casa Milà, popularly known as La Pedrera, or Casa Batlló, the contrast couldn't be bigger. Gaudi's buildings mimic shapes and patterns found in the natural world, with parts resembling trees or caves. And he loved to use vivid colors and textures using ceramic mosaic tiles and stained glass, as can be seen in Park Güell. The Barcelona Pavilion is completely different. It's a building stripped naked down to walls, glass, stone and metal. Inside, the iconic Barcelona chairs, and just behind that, one lonely piece of decoration, a Georg Golbe sculpture. No clutter, no frivolity. In my video How Minimalism Changed My Life, which I will link to in the top right corner, I explained how I found that removing clutter creates more space for things you really care about. Minimalism at its core is beautiful because it cuts the fat. It reduces everything down to the basics. In this case, an enclosure for shelter, with the materials elevated to decoration because they are unadulterated. And Mies van der Rohe used extravagant materials for the pavilion. 4 shades of tinted glass, along with marble, onyx, chrome steel and travertine. Its gleaming offset walls create subtle spatial illusions enhanced by sunlight, shimmering and sparkling from both the rich building materials and from the rectangular pool that permeates the structure. The only furniture in the Barcelona Pavilion are these 2 Barcelona chairs, surrounded by 3 Barcelona stools on each side, both designed by Mies van der Rohe. The chairs were literally designed for a king. The pavilion was the site of the inaugural ceremony for the German exhibits at the 1929 exposition. And according to the architect, it had to be an important and very elegant chair. He said, "The government was to receive a king. The chair had to be monumental. In those circumstances, you just couldn't use a kitchen chair." The chairs are supported on each side by 2 chrome-plated flat steel bars. Seen from the side, the single curve of the bar forming the chair's back and front legs crosses the S-curve of the bar forming the seat and the back legs, making an intersection of the 2. The chair and stool are still in production. To get your own, you need deep pockets though. Knoll has been manufacturing them since 1953 and currently sells the Barcelona chair for a little over $6,700 and the Barcelona stool for almost $3,200. The only piece of art in the Barcelona Pavilion is Georg Kolbe's sculpture De Morgen, or The Morning. This is a copy. The original sculpture stands in Berlin. Mies van der Rohe chose to put this female nude with her arms outstretched upwards in the small water basin, leaving the larger one all the more empty. This was intentional. He put the sculpture where the optical effects of the highly reflective materials would have the strongest impact. So I recently adopted a minimalist lifestyle. This is actually how I first learned about the Barcelona Pavilion. I literally searched for Barcelona plus minimalism when I was in Barcelona. I was fortunate enough to be the only visitor. It was kind of surreal, a bit of an I Am Legend experience. Walking around the pavilion was like a visual representation of what I've been reading in books about the minimalist lifestyle. How minimalism is a tool to rid yourself of life success in favor of focusing on what's important, so you can find happiness and fulfillment. How minimalism is about eliminating distractions. By peeling away layers of clutter, the core, that which is essential, can take center stage. The open space that remains brings about a sense of calm, of freedom. It opens our mind to more important things in life. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but to find beauty in anything, you first need to focus your attention on the object. At first sight, the minimal design of a structure like the Barcelona Pavilion may look boring. I am sure many people walk past it on a daily basis and don't even blink their eyes. But once I started to really look, the elegance of the minimalist design presented itself in all its glory. The sun casting its shadow on the walls, the breezes wafting through open walls, the reflections in the sun-dappled water, the geometric arrangement of shimmering glass and marble planes. It was beautiful. I'm still a beginner on the minimalist path, but it's already been worth it if only for this visit to the Barcelona Pavilion. If you want to follow along, please subscribe to the channel. I post videos about minimalism, but also about slow living. And like this video if it inspired you to. Please let me know in the comments, would you ever see yourself living in a minimalist building like the Barcelona Pavilion? Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.